All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kaniba coming at you again with this video titled Bad Boys for Life, Mamba for Life. And shout out to Chronicles of Judah 144 for, inspiring me to actually do this video. On his Patreon, he has a whole plethora of videos that he did about Kobe Bryant, and his death. Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. And, just shedding light on the different esoteric things that happened with Kobe Bryant. And, one day I was at the crib and I was watching Bad Boys for Life. And I started to see things throughout this movie that, just kind of had my spidey senses going off. It was just a lot of correlations to Kobe Bryant all throughout this particular movie. And I'm going to point it out throughout the duration of this video that I'm doing. From the veneration of the sun and the serpent, which really represent the same thing. The number 9, the number 7, the veneration of the mother goddess, and, plenty of other stuff that I'm going to shed light on. And you brothers can come to your own conclusion to see, if I'm actually on point, or maybe your brother Kaniba is just, reaching, so to speak. All right, but let's get into it. All right, so this is an article from theinquirer.net, and it was written about a year ago. And the title of this article is LeBron Unveils Mamba for Life Tattoo in Honor of Kobe. All right. And it reads, when LeBron James wrote hashtag Mamba for Life in a post on Instagram Saturday, he meant it figuratively and quite literally. In a tribute to his brother, in quotations, Kobe Bryant, James had a black mamba with the number 8 and 24 and roses tattooed on his left thigh. Okay, so let's take a look at this part right here. This paragraph, it says, in tribute to his brother, Kobe Bryant. And notice they have brother in quotation marks. So what that lets me know is when he says his brother, he means his brother in the craft. Okay, what you got to know about Freemasonry, Freemasons refer to Freemasonry as the brotherhood, okay? They refer to the craft as the brotherhood, okay? So when LeBron James says his brother, he's talking about his brother within the craft, okay? This goes back also to something that Floyd Mayweather said about Kobe Bryant. It was a video I was watching on YouTube. And this was after Floyd Mayweather's fight against, I forget who it was. But, he was out in the Rolls Royce late at night getting interviewed. And it was that interview where, they went through the drive-thru of McDonald's to get breakfast or whatever. And the interviewer asked Floyd Mayweather about Kobe Bryant, and he said, oh, yeah, that's my brother, So, I mean, it means the same thing. He meant his brother within the craft. Okay. He talked about how him and Kobe Bryant, they started their journey in the same year, which was 96, I believe. And that number 96, like the number 69, is really just an allusion to as above, so below. Okay. So here's the actual tattoo that LeBron James got. And as we see, it's the snake or the serpent with both of the numbers that Kobe Bryant wore, which is the number 24 and the number 8, right? But the reason I even bring up this tattoo is because of the title that's under the actual picture. And it says Mamba for Life. And, it dawned on me. I'm like, this sounds a lot like the movie that came out, Bad Boys for Life. And, with all the the correlations that I see or the predictive programming I see in that movie that alludes to Kobe Bryant and his death, I just thought it was a good point to bring up this tattoo. All right, so this is a Google search on the release date of Bad Boys for Life. And I'm going to be using this as my first piece of evidence. And as we see here, it says that Bad Boys for Life released on the date of January 17th, 2020. Now, one may ask, what does this have to do with Kobe Bryant and his death and the death of his daughter Gigi and everybody else that was on that helicopter on that day? So now what I want to do, I want to go and I want to look at the date that the helicopter actually crashed. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so this is from a Wikipedia search, and it says 2020 Calabasas helicopter crash. On January 26, 2020, a Sikorsky S-76B helicopter crashed in the city of Calabasas, California, around 30 miles, 48 kilometers northwest of downtown Los Angeles, while en route from John Wayne Airport to Camarillo Airport. All 9 people on board were killed on impact. Retired professional basketball player Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gigi, baseball coach John Altobelli, 5 other passengers, and the pilot. Okay, so now let's look at the date that this happened. It says this happened on January 26th, 2020. Now, again, you may be asking, okay, well, what does this have to do with Bad Boys for Life? I don't see the correlation. Well, it's simple. We already saw that Bad Boys for Life was released on January 17th, 2020. This happened, the helicopter crash happened on January 26th, 2020. That means that Bad Boys for Life was released exactly 9 days before the helicopter crashed. And coincidentally, 9 people died in that helicopter crash. Now, again, one may say, you know what, Kanai, but I think you're reaching. I just think that's a coincidence. Well, okay, you're entitled to that. But again, remember, this is my critique. So, you could take it for what it is, but this is the way that I see it, right? I look at things from a biblical and a spiritual perspective, from that vantage point, okay? So also look at the date that it happened. It says January 26th, okay? So remember in other pictures or the last NBA game that Kobe Bryant actually attended, he attended with his daughter Gigi, and he had on the orange hoodie for a level of enlightenment, or he reached a godlike level, or God consciousness, or Christ-like consciousness, right? It says that this happened January the 26th. Now, on the right-hand side, the number 26 actually represents the Most High. It represents his name, Yahweh. Okay? When you're dealing with the scriptures in the Old Testament, you have what's known as the Tetragrammaton. That's whenever you see the word Lord in all capital letters. That's the Tetragrammaton. It means the 4 letters. Okay? That's the YHWH in Hebrew. Okay? The YHWH in Hebrew comes out to a numerical value of 26. Okay? And in the Hebrew alphabet, or what's known as the alphabet, each Hebrew character has a numerical value. And when you add up the YHWH, it comes out to 26, right? So Kobe dying on this date also lets us know that he reached a godlike level, so to speak. Okay? That's what they're trying to imply, but on the left-hand side. Okay? And, not to get off topic too much, but that's why when you go into the creation story in Genesis chapter 1, when the scriptures say that God said, let us make man in our image, when you're dealing with the creation of mankind. Okay, that happened in chapter 1, but it started in verse 26. Okay, because man is the image of the Most High, and the number 26 represents the Most High. It represents his name. Okay, so as the film begins, we know that the movie was actually filmed in Miami, Florida, right? Now, Florida, as most people know, is known as the Sunshine State. And as I already stated, throughout this movie, the sun is going to be venerated a lot, okay? Florida is also known as the Orange State. Now, orange is the only color that has a numerical value of 33, okay? 33, as we know, represents sacrifice. Okay, we know that Kobe and his daughter, Gigi, and basically all 9 people that was on that helicopter, they were sacrificed. Okay, and this goes back to the orange hoodie that Kobe Bryant had on in his last appearance at an NBA game. Well, not as a player, but as a spectator. And he had on the orange hoodie because he had reached a level of enlightenment, or a level of Christ consciousness, so to speak. Okay. And as we know, or as he also knew, he was soon to be sacrificed. Okay. So having said all that, that's the reason why this movie is perfect for the predictive programming concerning the death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Gigi. All right, so this is the opening scene where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are on their way to see the birth of Martin Lawrence's grandson. And they're on the road rushing to get to the hospital. And what you have to understand is when these cameramen, when they film certain shots at certain angles, it's usually for a reason, 9 times out of 10. So I have a screenshot of the actual license plate of Will Smith's Porsche in the movie. And the first part is WCS. And the last part is 968. So let's go to the gematria and see what this adds up to be. All right. All right. So we see here, we have the beginning of the license plate. And that was WCS. And we see here that the English ordinal equals 45. 4 plus 5, of course, is 9. The full reduction equals 9. The reverse ordinal equals 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. The reverse full reduction equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So, again, what we've already established is 9 people died on the helicopter crash, which was January the 26th, 2020. The movie Bad Boys for Life, of course, came out January 17th, 2020, which was exactly 9 days before the helicopter crash. Okay? Okay, here we have the second part of the license plate, which was 968, which comes up to 23. Now we know 23 represents the letter W in the alphabet, because 23 is the 23rd letter in the alphabet. Okay? 23 also represents DNA, and it also represents the intertwining serpent. Okay? And we know Kobe Bryant was the Black Mamba. So what you're going to find out is throughout this movie, serpents are a common theme. You're going to see them all throughout this movie. Okay. Now, going back to the opening scene, there was a point where the cameraman zoomed in on the speedometer. And while the speedometer was going up, it went up to 94 miles per hour. Then the cameraman zoomed out, right? Now we know 9 plus 4 equals 13. And Kobe Bryant's daughter, Gigi, she was 13 at the time of her death, right? And then I think she had a friend that was on the helicopter as well, who was also 13 years old, right? Now, John Altobelli, his daughter was also on the helicopter as well. And I think the official report says that she was 14 years old. Now, I've went to different sites, and different sites are saying different things. You know, I'm seeing the age of 14, then other sites are saying she was 17. But the point being is this: we know that they have a history of changing people's ages to not be so obvious as to what they're trying to imply or trying to display to the people. It was the same thing with Chadwick Boseman. We know for a fact he was 42 years old when he died. But, you know, they pushed his age back by a year, or they actually moved it up to where he was 43 when he died, when we know for a fact he was actually 42. All right. So it wouldn't surprise me a bit if John Altobelli's daughter was also 13 when she died. I'm not saying for a fact she was, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. All right. All right. So this is an article from the website shamanicastrology.com about the number 13. And it reads, plus the number 13 is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Many ancient secret societies and mystery schools understood that the number 13 represented death and rebirth through ascension into eternal life, and it represented the secret knowledge of all life, including sacred sexuality. So let's stop right there for a minute. It says here that the number 13 represented death and rebirth through ascension into eternal life. Now this applies to Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. Through their death, they were reborn through the ascension into eternal life, or they made it to the top of the stairway to heaven. Now, within the craft, what you got to understand is what their definition of heaven is the constellation, okay? Into the celestial sphere amongst the stars and the planets, okay? Kobe Bryant, according to them, is now within the Greek hero cult amongst the constellation. All right. This is why it had to be his 13-year-old daughter that was with him when the helicopter crashed to play into the script, the narrative. All right. So the article goes on to say it is synchronistic that the 13th card in the tarot is the death card, and the 13th rune in the Norse alphabet, Yiwaz, is also linked with the balance between light and dark, death and rebirth, and the heavens and the underworld. All right. All right. So this is an article from the website writingthebeast.com about the number 13. And it reads, properties of the number 13, symbolism. Number that cleanses and purifies. The number 13 brings the test, the suffering, and the death that goes into the helicopter crash. It symbolizes the death to the matter or to oneself, and the birth to the spirit, the passage on a higher level of existence. Didn't we already say that now Kobe is amongst the constellation? Okay, this is just another witness. Okay, they view him as being amongst the stars in the celestial sphere, the Greek hero cult, so to speak. It goes on to say, for the superstitious, This number brings the bad luck or the misfortune. For the Kabbalists, the number 13 is the meaning of the snake. The dragon, again, Kobe Bryant, is the black Mamba. Okay? This is why it had to be his 13-year-old daughter that was on the helicopter with him when he died. Okay? Satan and the murderer. But it is also, for Christians, the representative number of the Virgin Mary. She whose mission is to crush the head of Satan. Now, nowhere in the Bible, to my recollection, does the number 13 represent Mary, nor does it even allude to representing Mary, okay? What we got to understand is Christianity is an offshoot, or the Christian church is an offshoot of the Catholic Church. And Catholicism is basically rooted in the mystery school system of ancient Babylon and ancient Kemet, okay? Within Christianity, just like in Catholicism, they worship the mother goddess, okay? They just use Mary as a front to hide what they or who they really venerate, which is the mother goddess, okay? It has nothing to do with the mother of Yahushua, all right? So I brought out all this information about the number 13 because, again, as we saw, the cameraman zoomed in on the speedometer all the way up until it got to 94 miles per hour. As we know, 9 plus 4 is 13. And then once it got to 94 miles per hour, he zoomed out. All right. So in the opening of this scene, we have the introduction of the character named Isabel Arites, right? And as we look at the screenshot I took of this particular scene, you'll see that outside of the prison, there's a light there. Now, that light is supposed to be an allusion to the sun, okay? Then, as we look above the character Isabel's head, you see what looks like sun rays coming down and illuminating on her, because she's supposed to be a mother goddess figure in this film, all right? This is another shot within this particular scene where Isabel is being confronted by the prison guard. And notice how the cameraman has the camera set. You have the fan directly above her head with the sun rays coming down on her again. You know, that fan is supposed to be an allusion to like a halo that's supposed to be around her head. And like, you know, a sun illuminating on her. Because, again, she's a mother goddess figure. All right.